Entertainment Soldier, and I'm back to talk about Star Wars Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 3, and my thoughts on this episode. Well, boring, annoying, stupid, and utterly ridiculous are some of the words that come to mind when I think about this episode. It's not a good episode. I think this is the worst one we've seen so far. I just don't know. I don't know who the hell can say they like this show so far. We've had 2 disappointing episodes and 1 just ridiculously stupid episode. I mean, we have a scene in this episode that is just utterly stupid. And it's to do with Ahsoka on a ship. And that's all I'm going to say for the non-spoiler part. But that was just so fucking stupid. And we also got to talk about the night guy. I have a horrible, horrible feeling that that is Starkiller. I think it's all but confirmed now. And I know some people are going to say, well, it hasn't been proven yet. Don't you just feel it? Don't you just see it? The voice change in his suit. The way he's acting. That's fucking Starkiller. And if that is Starkiller, I am going to be really fucking pissed off. I am, because you know he's just going to be defeated by Sabine or Ahsoka, and the real Starkiller who took on the Darth Vader and the Emperor, and yet Ahsoka and Sabine can beat him. Fuck off. But yeah, I can't really point to anything good in this episode. I mean, we had a scene with Hera. Oh god, she is just not improving as an actress. She really isn't. Oh god, at least we had one kind of good thing. I don't know if I should say this before the spoiler section, but we find out about her son. So, I mean, he was missing, so, and we all thought maybe they're going to skip over the point about Hera being a mother as well, because, you know, the whole woke agenda with mothers now. So, I mean, okay. But I also should mention there are technically 2 scenes in this episode that are stolen from A New Hope. One in the beginning and one near the end. Now, some people may say, well, they're just trying to, you know, get rid of the criticism that so many fans have been giving Star Wars for female characters. Yes, but let's be fucking honest here. You didn't have to make it that fucking blatant, that much of a copy, for having it literally nearly word for fucking word. But I'll go into that into the spoiler section. There was also a political scene in this episode, and it felt so pointless. Like, it added literally nothing to the episode. I mean, I can remember listening to the Thrawn trilogy on audio, and when they would get to the political stuff, it would be so interesting. It would, you know, have you on the edge of your seat at some point to see, you know, who's the traitor, who is Thrawn working with, and the Thrawn political stuff was interesting. In this episode, it just felt so childish at some points. So, I gotta go to spoilers now. It's not a good episode. So, what am I giving out of 10? I'm giving it a 1. That's all I can do. It's a 1. This is just a dull, filler type episode which didn't really add anything to the story, in my opinion. So let's go into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So the episode starts off with us on Ahsoka's ship, where Sabine is getting trained by Yarn. Now, they're going through this whole routine because you know, Sabine hasn't done her training for a very long time, so they need to see where she's at. Why are they actually doing this in the show? Because basically they kind of, I think Disney has kind of realised you have to train your characters, especially the female ones. Otherwise, when the fans point it out, how can this character do this ridiculous thing? It's kind of easy for us to point that at that and just, you know, embarrass Disney. So it looks like Disney have accepted the criticism finally of actually having characters train. It only took them 5 fucking years to learn that basic writing fact. So, I mean, that's kind of a fucking improvement. So, Yarn's helping Sabine with her, you know, saber skills training. They do a bunch of stuff. And then at the end of it, he says she's done all right. And Ahsoka's like, how's it going? Sabine says she's getting better. And then Yarn apparently told her she's the worst, you know, trained Jedi he's the worst Jedi he's ever trained. Apparently. So, basically, what I think this scene was about was literally to have us, you know, the criticism of Mary Sue being put out there for Sabine. They just want to say, well, Yarn said she was a shit Jedi, so how could she be a Mary Sue? Listen to me. Don't pull that shit. She is going to do something annoyingly epic in this fucking show. Kill us fucking Jedi, kill a fucking Sith, whatever those bad guys are. You know it's going to be Sabine who does it. Because apparently this show is kind of leaning into the whole, you know, replacing the lead character with the side character. I'm not fully on that side yet of Sabine replacing Ahsoka in her own show, but it is kind of looking in that direction. Not completely, but it is kind of inching to that way. So Ahsoka gets kind of annoyed at Yarn for telling Sabine he doesn't think she's great. And so they have a little chat about the whole, you know, situation and how she needs to get better. But unfortunately, we then get the copied scene from A New Hope. And this is a copy of A New Hope training scene with Luke and Obi-Wan. Because what happens? Ahsoka gives Sabine a helmet with a blast shield. And what do you think Sabine says when she puts that fucking thing on? With the blast shield down, how am I supposed to fight? I'm getting kind of sick of this shit from Disney Star Wars, of copying better fucking Star Wars. Like, Disney, Dave Filoni, you know we're going to know that's a copy of A New Hope, right? You know that criticism has already been labelled at Force Awakens, yet you do this scene. And I bet your excuse is going to be, well, Ahsoka's training with a training sword, and Luke was training with a laser ball. Fuck off. They are basically 2 training routines that are literal copies. Okay? All you've done is change the equipment. That's all you've done. Now I know I'm going to give him a point for the whole at least training Sabine. But why have the same words? Why not have Sabine and Ahsoka just train like normal Jedi? Why just have this whole, the blast shield down, I can't see, I can't fight? It's like, why did you need to do that exact wording? Why not have Sabine say something else? Like, I don't fucking know. Just say anything else other than the exact same lines from A New Hope. It's just stupid. So the next scene, we then join the New Republic fleet. And I gotta say, it looked great seeing the A-Wings fly over a bunch of New Republic ships. It's a great looking scene. But what destroys this scene for me is basically in the future, that entire fleet is going to be mothballed for no fucking reason because of the JJ Star Wars crap story. So when I see all these New Republic ships, I just remember they are all gonna get mothballed for no reason. Anyway, on the on Home One, where obviously Hera is in charge, she has a meeting with the Chancellor and a bunch of other senators. So, the Chancellor, Mon Mothma, and a bunch of other senators want to know what's going on, basically. And Hera gives them a report about the facilities on Corellia and how she shut down the operation that was being supported by ex-Imperials. And then one of the other Chancellors kind of pipes up and says, well, just because a few Imperials started working for the Emperor again doesn't mean the entire lot will start turning back to the Empire. I think that's a very dumb thing to say. Like, I'm not saying every single Imperial who's come to your side is going to be, you know, a turncoat. But you should keep your eye on them, at least. And having this senator think, like, we have a bunch of them in all parts of our government, and that's a good thing. No, that's dumb. They were Imperial. There should be kind of some safety put on them, or maybe some security or something. Yeah, so this senator kind of sounded like a moron. We also meet for the first time Chancellor Zioto, who, if you don't know, is, well, let's say if you watch Star Wars Resistance, he is the father of one of the pilots of that show. So pretty much nobody knows who this twat is. Ridiculous. Anyway, so Zioto is the apparently he's the problem on the council because he wants to challenge what Hera's saying, and apparently they've got history of each other or something, because before Hera went into the meeting, one of the officers told her that he was on the council or on the call, and well, apparently when Hera heard that, she knew it wasn't going to be an easy talk. So, okay, so Hera kind of tells them about what she's found out, and then she brings up the threat of Thrawn coming back. Now, Zioto kind of does make a ridiculous point here, which is, well, Hera, you're just making up stories so you can have more, you know, resources from the Republic. And I've just kind of got to ask, does she really need to ask? Like, she's a general. She's just told you about a massive threat. Like, I don't get this. Like, why are you being such an arsehole here? And why is Chancellor Mon Mothma just taking this lying down? Like, why isn't she just saying, like, this is a serious threat? Like, they keep saying that Thrawn's dead. I get the whole he was kidnapped by whales, which he was, unfortunately, but that's not proof of death. And Thrawn, it would still be a massive threat. So why is everybody on this council so fucking determined to look the other way? Because that's what this entire scene felt like. They all just wanted to look away and ignore the situation. Which you don't need to do. You can have... This scene could have been better if you just had this this politician challenging Hera pushing back, and maybe the other senators coming to her defense and saying, maybe Thrawn is alive. Maybe we should send a couple of ships. Or, I don't know, just have this one-sided argument where Hera was going to lose the argument just because the Chancellor just didn't want to put her foot down, even though you've heard of a massive threat. It just feels ridiculous. So, Hera does call out about his not fighting in the Civil War with the Empire. I think that's a fair criticism to him. Apparently he didn't fight in the war. I know some people are going to say, oh, Hera was acting like a bitch, but listen, if he didn't fight in the war, Hera has all the right in the world to call him out on it. Oh, by the way, the acting from Hera, not getting any better. Just going to say that. Kind of crap still. The Chancellor also mentions Hera's son, and she says that he's hanging around here somewhere. Fantastic mothering skills, love. Really good. Jesus Christ. And, yeah. So, the Chancellor and the other senators decide not to let Hera go forward with her mission. So Hera's kind of pissed off about this. She bumps into her son, who says Sabine's going to be a Jedi. He wants to be a Jedi. Whatever. And, yeah. That was that scene. A scene that just felt so fucking bad. And pointless as well. So the next scene, we're back with Ahsoka and Sabine. And we're talking about the Force. Now, this for me is the worst scene of the episode because it does do massive damage to Star Wars lore. Now, we all know about the Force, how the Force is in everybody. But this scene kind of makes it a fucking ridiculous possibility that every person in the galaxy is able to use the Force. That has never been the Force in Star Wars. Now, I get people didn't like the midichlorian stuff. I get it. George Lucas wanted to put a bit of science in Star Wars, and a lot of people just said, no, you shouldn't do it. Me, I personally think the midichlorian stuff is not great. It could have been improved. But it does explain how some people can be Force sensitive and some people can't. In this scene, Ahsoka says, every fucking person can use the fucking Force. Now, this scene is just because Sabine was not Force sensitive in the Rebel series. So this is Dave Filoni's desperate attempt to explain at the end of the show why Sabine can now use the fucking Force. No. You can't fucking do that. That being a Jedi is special. Being Force sensitive is special. Okay? I get the woke people don't like saying that some people are just more special than others. I get it. But this is Star Wars. You have to be Force sensitive to use the fucking Force. Not everybody can use it. Okay? This scene does more damage than I would say the lightsaber stabbing fucking Sabine. Because this literally makes it really pointless being a fucking Jedi. If every arsehole can apparently now use the Force. Now, anybody can be a Jedi, but not every fucking body. So this scene is worse than the lightsaber stab, in my opinion. So Sabine is then told by Ahsoka, listen, everybody can use the Force. She pulls a cut to her and, tells Sabine to practice pulling little things first and then get to the big stuff later. Fucking hell. We then get a scene between Yarn and Ahsoka, where Yarn tells Ahsoka again that Sabine is just not a Jedi and would never have been accepted in the Order. And Ahsoka says, well, the Order failed and the Jedi weren't so smart, basically. And she's no longer a Jedi. I don't get why Ahsoka is just so bitter. Like, I get the Jedi Order did kind of screw you over. I do get that. But the Jedi Order survived for thousands of fucking years. I think they kind of had a clue on training Jedi and how to actually, survive. The only reason the Jedi Order failed is because they stopped doing the Jedi thing and became generals and became people who fought wars. That was the downfall of the Jedi, was the fact they stopped being Jedi. So, why Ahsoka hates the Jedi, it's ridiculous. I mean, Ahsoka keeps defending Sabine, says she's going to be a Jedi someday, or she's going to have to get some practice in, but she'll be able to use the Force one day or something. Whatever. Then they arrive at the fucking destination where they find the Eye of Sauron, whatever the fuck it really is called, and oh god, we then get this really boring fucking scene where we get this boring space battle where you've got the two bad guys, the Knight and Sheen, with a couple of suicide pilots who are just there to get killed, and this really pointless stolen scene from, New Hope, where the Millennium Falcon got attacked by 4 TIE fighters. I get that some people can say, well, you can't just say that about everything being stolen. Yeah, I probably was a bit over the top with that. Maybe I'll probably take that back. It's not a stolen scene. The first scene is definitely stolen from A New Hope. This scene, I mean, it's still a bad scene, but I'll probably say it's not stolen. Anyway, so we get this boring scene, this boring chase fight scene again, where Ahsoka's ship is just invincible. She just gets hit multiple times. They destroy a couple of fighters because Sabine gets on the back turret, and the fighters just seem pretty useless. They then get close enough to the eye whatever thing. The eye hyperdrive, that's it. The eye hyperdrive, where Yarn decide to scan it, see what it is. Then Marek orders the fighters to disengage, where she uses turbo lasers on Ahsoka's ship and only wings it, and doesn't know it's destroyed, even though the ship goes underneath her bridge. Okay? And then Vin takes a dig at Morgan and says, yeah, you winged Ahsoka, you didn't kill her though. And then we get the most ridiculous scene of this episode, where Ahsoka jumps out of the ship, grabs her lightsabers, and we get this dumb fucking fight scene between the fighters and Ahsoka using lightsabers. By the way, the fighters have stopped engaging the ship and are now just engaging Ahsoka, even though the ship is not fucking moving and is seriously damaged. And Ahsoka manages to take one of the fighters out with her lightsabers. Okay, we have gone to the point of just ridiculous now. This is fucking ridiculous. So Ahsoka fights off the fighters. They get the ship working again. They fly down into the atmosphere of the planet. And we bump into some whales, because we have got to show those fucking whales, haven't we? Jesus. And then Ahsoka manages to land the ship somewhere, hides the ship, turns off Yarn, and the fighters then can't fight them anymore. They then return to base, and Ahsoka then reactivates Yarn, who tells them that the eye is a hyperspace grid thing. So basically, they are doing what is just utterly ridiculous, but if you've ever seen Babylon 5, it's basically their fucking warp drive system. So apparently this warp tunnel that they've created, they are using it so they can go get Thrawn. And they need to use the same network between galaxies that the space whales use. So that's why the whales are here. This is apparently one of their routes. So they're going to use the eye to get to Thrawn and get him out of the galaxy that he is exiled in, back to the normal galaxy. Yeah. This is fucking ridiculous. Like, we have never needed this in Star Wars. Like, why are we having gates now? You can go from galaxy to galaxy. It just takes longer. We've never needed a fucking warp gate before. This is ridiculous. And the episode just ends with Balin sending a bunch of mercenaries out into the forest to go find Ahsoka and kill her. And that's how the episode ends. It's a bad episode. Boring, canon breaking, dumb. And I got no fucking hope for the future of this show. This is just dumb. And I will still say my point about Starkiller being in this series. If this is Starkiller, and I see anybody who says that they are a Starkiller fan and says this is good, don't call yourself a Starkiller fan. Don't. Because this is bullshit. You're going to bring in one of the an EU breakout, a character who started off in the games, who pretty much got bigger than the games. And you're going to bring him into the Ahsoka show so he can get his ass kicked by either Sabine, who I think it really is going to be, or Ahsoka. Fuck off. I'm done if that happens. And also, them saying that everybody has the Force. Do you realise what damage that does to Star Wars lore? Now, anybody can be a Jedi. Not everybody can, though. And, oh my god, again, this is nothing to do with the whole make everybody equal. This is just so we can have Sabine be a fucking Jedi. That's all this is for. And I'll just end on something funny. Do you think Hera's going to send her son to Jedi's Academy? I mean, not Jedi. To Luke's Academy? Do you think we're going to get that line in this show? I'm just saying, if that happens, I will laugh my ass off. But we all know it's not going to happen because of what happens to that fucking academy. But I'm just saying, that would be fucking hilarious. But that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think of subscribing. And if you leave a comment below, I will try to get back to it as soon as I can. Entertainment Soldier. Bye.